Sponsorship for the Cradle Catholic is provided by El Padrecito Productions, Catholic evangelization with an urban flair. El Padrecito Ministries is a nonprofit Catholic organization dedicated to spreading the gospel through the intercession of our Blessed Mother to children, youth, and young adults through the arts, entertainment, media, and education. For more information, visit www.elpadrecito.org. Sponsorship also provided by S Mind Productions. If you're looking for quality music production for your film, your music, your podcast, or whatever the case is, contact my boy Separate Mind at peterosebeats@gmail.com.
Time to take you sinners to church now.
Ladies and gentlemen, damas y caballeros, from Music in Focus Studio, where we discuss music, faith, community, and tacos. This is the Cradle Catholic Podcast with your host, C2six. Stay tuned, we can learn something. When we barbecue, the only time we burn something. My people with me and we never on our own. When we have a guest on, yeah, it's like we at home. We talk with bros and with sisters and we all tight. If it's about tacos, then we talking all night. And if I'm honest, I'ma order me some fries. Let's talk about hip hop, talk about life, yeah. It's real, recognize real, now I'm talking about Puerto Rico right now, yeah, let's talk it out. Cradle Catholic in the house, yeah, it's going down. Para la gente, come on in, got the crown. Manos para arriba, para arriba, manos para arriba, para arriba, manos para arriba, para arriba, manos para arriba, para arriba.
So with that beat, man, that intro beat's banging,
Hey,
homie.
man, I appreciate that, bro. Appreciate it. Hey, thank you, everybody, for joining us today on the Cradle Catholic. I'm your host, C2six. I've got a special guest today, and he's a humble dude, so allow me to toot your horn for you, okay, bro? He's a pioneer. He's a veterano, right? He's one of the I'm gonna say one of the first three, definitely, if not the first.
It was like Kid Frost,
Meloman
Meloman
and
Ace.
yourself, and so yeah, and this is early days, and this is even before even before Cypress, and this is early.
They were around, though.
Well, they were around.
They were
before
definitely around.
before their big success, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But this dude here that's sitting with me, he's an OG in the rap game, particularly for Chicanos in the rap game, and man, he did a lot of work with Frost. He did a lot of work with Eazy. He did a lot of work with a lot of the Chicano rappers in the game. And I'm sitting here with none other than AOT the Saint.
What's up?
Hey, thank you for being here, man. It's a blessing to have you.
My pleasure. Thank you.
I grew up listening to your music, man. That's not an understatement. I grew up, man, I was probably 13 years old when I started listening to your music, man, back in like 1990.
Yeah, that's about when it all started. 89 was when we came out with Lowrider, and
was that 89, bro?
89. We actually recorded it, and it hit in 90.
Wow.
Yeah.
So Lowrider, man. For those of you who don't know about the Lowrider song, man, that's AOT the Saint. That's Kid Frost. That's Meloman Ace on the song.
That's right.
Latin Alliance. That. Correct me if I'm wrong. I want to make sure I get all my facts straight and all my history straight, but that song charted on the Billboard.
Oh, yes.
Right?
Pretty
high, right? Do you remember?
It almost cracked the top 40. I think it went all the way to 42.
42, wow.
Yeah. We toured, and it was very big in other countries. We did a lot of touring with that music. A lot of European tours, South American tours. We did Chile, Brazil,
Australia,
Japan.
right?
Didn't make it to Australia.
Okay.
The song that was big there was Tequila.
I read somewhere that in Australia, the Lowrider song stayed on the charts for over 40 weeks straight.
You might be thinking Tequila. Tequila was huge in Australia and actually number 1 in New Zealand.
Wow.
Yeah, and made it up to like number 3 in Australia. And I never got to go there. No booking agent ever booked me there. I never understood why. But
So Lowrider, is that before or after La Raza?
after.
That's after La Raza.
So the whole Latin Alliance concept was a concept Frost came up with. Mm-hmm. I was doing a lot of writing for him, and he said, let's come up with like a Latino group with all the different Latino ethnicities. Yeah. So we have like a Cuban guy in there, we got a Puerto Rican guy in there, and then Mexican guys. You know, we just had all the different Latinos in there, and that's why it was Latinos Unidos. You know.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's how the concept came. Virgin Records liked the idea. La Raza was hitting so big. You had La Raza on the charts. You had Mentirosa on the charts for Mellow Man Ace.
And those were like the first two.
Those were the
first two songs.
Yeah.
And
I mean, Mellow Man Ace actually came out before. Well, Frost had records. Remember, I was off the record. We were talking earlier, and we were talking about the original Kid Frost stuff that I knew from backyard parties and K-Day with Terminator.
And I want to hear more about that here in a minute.
Yeah. And he had those records, but then Mellow Man Ace came out with Rhyme Fighter, and he had records too.
Yeah.
And so you know, they played on K-Day also.
Yeah.
So we all on the local scene, and like, so actually we knew Mellow Man Ace. He actually was on the radio first, I think.
Yeah. Shout out to Mellow Man Ace, by the way.
Yeah. That's the homie. And I think Mentirosa came out. I mean, they were really close to each other, but it was probably a couple months before La Raza. But they were both definitely charting at the same time.
I think the Mellow Man Ace, the Mentirosa song, if I'm not mistaken, was the first Latin rap or
to go platinum.
Was it platinum or was it gold? I thought.
I think the single went platinum.
The single went platinum, right?
Yes.
It was the first one, right?
Yeah.
And of course, you and Mello were eventually part of the same group, the Latin Alliance, right?
Mello wasn't really part of the Latin Alliance as much as he was part of that song.
Oh, okay, I got you. But either way, you guys were working together tough, man. Y'all were homies. Y'all were people, man.
We were on the same circuit, so all the lowrider shows and you know, we're always performing somewhere together.
And so, what was your involvement with the La Raza song?
I had nothing to do with that song.
So that song came out, and now that song right there was it another platinum song, or was it gold?
It's gold.
Gold,
yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So those first two songs came out, and then the third probably big Chicano Latino rap song to come out
was Lowrider.
Yeah. Of course, you were on that.
Yes.
You were, and if you don't mind me saying, bro, I thought you had the hardest verse on there.
Dude, I like Mello's verse, really.
Well, you know what? They all go hard.
But the whole song is a classic. It's a classic. I like Mello put that twist on it, and it was just a trip, man. I really did like that. But then Frost is Frost too. So, you know, the whole song is it's a good song. And a lot of people don't know that we did that with the original War. If you watch the video, you see the guys in the video in the background. That's the original War, not the Jerry Goldstein War that the record label promoted after they ripped the original guys off. That was the real War.
Wow. So that song charts. And then, of course, how soon after that was the Tequila song?
Well, so we were touring with that song, and I was working with some guys that everyone knows now as the Baker Boys.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, they were called E&B Productions. I actually named them the Baker Boys.
Okay, that's what's up.
Yeah. They talk about it, and I heard an interview with them recently. They were talking about hanging out with me and me giving them that name. But they were up in Bakersfield, and I was doing, you know, they produced on some of Kid Frost's record.
Yeah.
So they would come down. I was married back then. Okay. Well, I'm married again, but my first wife, and I had a small child, a baby, Nicole. And they would come down from Bakersfield, and I'd let them crash at my house.
Wow.
You know, so we could go to the studio, and we'd go, you know, record all hours of the night. And I had a full-time job still in those days. And they would record, and while they were staying at my house and doing songs, making money with Kid Frost, well, they're doing tracks for me for free because they're staying at my house.
Yeah,
you know what I
yeah.
mean? And we just developed a friendship like that, you know?
For sure.
I even called their mom, you know?
Okay.
And man, Eric and Nick, they were some bad DJs. They could get down.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. And especially Nick. And he even kind of was my DJ for a little while in a way. 'Cause me and him would we would go do car shows, or he would come with me, and me and him could get on. And I could rap with doing the drops and bringing the scratch back in. I mean, I was a classic rapper. I wasn't a studio rapper. I rapped. I battled. I rapped. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I came from the old school. Back then, I was old school.
Yeah.
So me and him would tear it up, and he would go back and forth with cuts, and we did a song called Wicked. He's scratching on it. They produced it, and then we did a bunch of demos. They ended up getting a job at KKXX in Bakersfield.
Okay.
They had the Friday Night Flavor show that came to LA, Power 106. But before it went to LA, it was actually in Bakersfield.
Okay.
And so they had a platform and they had an insight in music. And I had done this tequila song. Mm-hmm. It was still a demo because I was touring and doing stuff for the lowrider thing still.
Yeah.
And they played it, and some of their DJ friends heard it and said, "What's that song?" They said, "Well, that's ALT. That's the guy who raps with Kid Frost, you know, da-da-da." And next thing I know, I had they gave it out to a few people in the radio industry. The next thing I know, I had 16 ads.
Wow.
And it was actually, at that point, I was shopping for my own deal because I was also writing lyrics for Gerardo, Rico Suave.
Yeah, Rico Suave.
And so his record label heard tequila and wanted it for them.
Okay.
And they offered me, in hindsight, I probably maybe should have took it, but they offered me a lot of money for it.
Yeah.
And then Sylvia Rohn, who signed me, Daryl Williams actually was my A&R guy over at Atlantic, but Sylvia Rohn was the one who, you know, brokered the whole deal and made it go through.
So Tequila was on the Lost Civilization album, right?
Correct. And that was Atlantic.
And that was on Atlantic.
Atlantic / East West / Adco Records.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I was actually signed to Atlantic. And when that came about, I was getting played quite literally. I think I had, by the time we pinned the actual contract, I had 42 ads on radio.
Wow.
I actually had to resend the new recorded version because a lot of radio was still playing the demo.
Now, for people who don't know the radio jargon, what do you mean by 42 ads on the radio?
Okay, so that means 42 radio stations across the United States were playing it.
Now, keep in mind, this is, what, 91, 92, maybe?
92.
92? Yep. And at that time, it was pretty much, like I said, the only other songs that had really kind of charted or made any real traction for Latinos was Mentirosa and La Raza. So
there was Sunday Afternoon at that point by that time.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so you're right. So this is one of the first 4 or 5 songs to ever chart and really make that type of traction, man.
There was the Mellow and Frost, and then we did Lowrider, and then in between that and me going solo, Lighter Shade of Brown emerged.
Yeah.
And they had actually a couple. I want to say that and Latin Active were probably out by the time Tequila came out.
Latin Active. You know what? This is my childhood right here, bro. This is this is my middle school and high school years, man. This is this is nostalgic for me, bro.
Yep.
It's really, really dope. Okay, so definitely top first 5 songs. You know what I'm saying?
Tequila was
in there, right? Yeah. And then so that's off the Lost Civilization album. And of course, you follow that up with what I think is one of the Chicano Rap classics, bro. Was the Stone Cold World?
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Is that what you followed that up with?
That was.
How soon after that?
So I think I want to say it was about 94 when Stone Cold World came out. A couple years later.
Okay. Are you with the same label at this time?
No, so we left because of creative differences. If you listen to my Tequila album, there's no cussing or anything on it.
Yeah.
And then going on to the Stone Cold World, I mean, it was very street and gangster, and that was the direction I wanted to go back then. So
you know what?
So I left the label because they wouldn't let me do what I wanted to do.
I got you. So what made you kind of go that direction? As far as going from a little bit more, bit less heavy, you know what I'm saying, to going to a little bit more something more heavy, more gangster.
I was already all my demos were like that.
Yeah.
But what they signed me for at Atlantic was tequila.
Yeah.
And what my A&R guy would say was radio.
Yeah.
I would bring songs that were
street,
that ended up on Stone Cold World, like Riding High.
Ooh,
they didn't
classic.
allow Riding High to even be on my first album.
Yeah.
That could have been on the first album. And so Julio did that one, yeah. Julio G did that one. And so I really left Atlantic because of creative differences.
It struck me like you had a lot of East Coast influence.
Yeah,
at the time.
I did back then, you know.
Prior to the early 90s, you know, the East Coast was pretty much,
where it came from.
Where it started, and where everybody's influence came from, right?
Although I was a huge Ice-T and, like I was telling you, Kid Frost fan.
I've heard stories about you being in the crowd during some rap battles between Kid Frost and Ice-T.
Yeah.
Let me hear something about that. Well, let these people hear something about that, man.
Man, I used to go even in the city of Monta where I grew up. Well, we used to go to parties over on Cherry Lee, and Kid Frost would be there. Ice-T would be there. I went to battles and watched those guys battle at different roller rinks and different places. I want to say I've seen at least 2 or 3 of them.
Yeah.
And then when I got to know them and come to find out later, I found out that they were all staged. That they literally, like, Ice-T would say, I'm going to win tonight. And then Frost would say, all right, okay. And then I'm going to win tonight. So it was all pre-written, and they battle each other out, and they were just battling. And
so this was like the WWE
they were
of
all
battle
friends.
raps, right?
They were friends. I was heartbroken. I was like, man, I was a little kid. We would argue. We would argue on who won.
Wow.
Me and my homies.
But
we were like 15. We were like 15 years old getting dropped off up the street at the parties to go watch Kid Frost rap.
Wow, bro. But I mean, either way, even if it was scripted, I imagine that was just like an experience, right? You're there. And of course, at the time, how big was Ice-T at that time? Because Ice-T's obviously an icon.
Yeah,
he's a hip hop icon, right?
Yeah, he was huge. That guy could rap. I've been at his house, in his studio. I would call him a friend. I mean, we're not super tight, but I know Ice, and I've been at his house plenty of times. He had a beautiful studio, by the way, up Plaza Drive in Hollywood Hills. And he really did the first gangster rap, too. 6 a.m, police at my door. Fresh Adidas squeak across my bathroom floor. Man, that's classic.
Hey, you had a song called 6 a.m.
I did, yeah.
Hey, was it kind of, in a sense, kind of paying homage to Ice-T?
Yeah, it was. Actually was.
Nice.
I couldn't tell you who put it out or what, but it's out there because I have it on my Spotify.
Hey, AOT the Saint on Spotify.
Yeah,
Stone Cold World. I mean, I imagine that must have done some decent numbers. Must have done decent numbers.
You know, we had, I don't know if you remember, but All Night Long was really starting to hit.
Okay.
And the story behind that one is we went in partnership with this little jazz label.
Yeah.
Okay. And not anything like Tequila, but we probably had 40 to 50 radio stations really playing that record.
Yeah.
Over and over again.
Yeah.
And the record sales were just starting to soar. And we had that Northridge earthquake, or one of the earthquakes. I think it was the Northridge earthquake, and lost a bunch of product in the earthquake.
Wow.
So we went to go get more pressed. And the thing is, the pressing companies, these guys we were in business with this little jazz label, I guess they were in so much debt that they wouldn't press more records for us.
Wow.
So we lost a lot of record sales because of that.
Yeah.
But yeah,
everything was physical back then. Everything was physical copies.
It was. There were no such thing as streams.
Yeah.
So we did lose out. That record could have been a lot bigger, but the one I thought was going to be big on that album was The Riding High, but it wasn't that.
It was big in my book, man.
Yeah, I love that song. That's the one I like on the album still. But matter of fact, Tony G, my producer, who, by the way, if you don't know who Tony G is, he's the one who produced Mentirosa for Melamanes. Okay. And he's also the one who produced La Raza for Kid Frost.
Okay.
He also produced Lowrider with Will Rock. Both of them produced it together for Lowrider for Latin Alliance.
Yeah.
I mean, he didn't do Tequila, but him and Julio did Riding High. I mean, me and him, he's still one of my best friends to this day.
Yeah.
And but he is a musical genius, and anybody who knows him or knows about him will tell you the same.
So Tony G was from the G Spot Studios. Am I right?
That was his.
That was his.
When we first started, we used to rap in the closet.
Okay. And I think a lot of people did.
I'm going to tell you right now, but see, back then there wasn't digital studios like they are now.
Did you use a sock for a spit guard?
Yes, we did.
Hey. Oh, man, that's how you know you're an OG.
Yeah.
If you used to use a sock for a spit guard, you're an OG in the rap game.
Yeah.
And in fact, I think you had standout verses on pretty much every song you came out on. That's just my personal opinion.
Thank you.
Don't shoot me, everybody. I'm just saying. You know what I'm saying? Don't get me wrong. Frost went hard on everything, man, and Nino Brown and Slow Pain went hard on everything. Don't get me wrong, man. But personal preference, I think AOT had some of the hardest verses on everything he came out with, man. And that's me. Like I said, I know you're a humble dude. I'm tooting your horn for you, bro.
Thank you. I appreciate it, man.
What was really cool to me, because I'm from Texas, and Texas and California are a little bit different as far as styles go and as far as sound goes, right? And a lot of people, when they hear Chicano rap, and I don't mean to diss it in any way, because I'm a big Chicano rap fan, man. I listen to a lot of Chicano rap.
But if it's too corny, I don't like it either.
Yeah,
so I know where you're going.
Well, and I wouldn't even necessarily. I wouldn't even necessarily say corny, but I mean, like, it can become kind of gimmicky.
Gimmicky,
right?
Yeah.
And I actually don't have a problem with the label Chicano Rap. I love that label because it is what it is. It lets you know what you're getting, right? If that's what you're looking for, that's what you're gonna get. You know what I'm saying?
But I'll tell you why I don't really mind it is because I remember going into Warehouse Records. Remember Warehouse Records?
Oh yeah, I used to sit there and listen to the records all day long, bro.
There was a section called Chicano Rap.
Yeah.
And I look at it, and one day it just hit me. I was just looking at it, and I was like, until I made a record, and until Frost and all of it, until we started doing this, there was no such thing as this genre. Yeah. So they might have put that label on us, but I was proud to be a part of the beginning of it. So, So I didn't mind.
Yeah, you kind of created the subgenre of Chicano Rap.
But I used to hate when people would say, "Yeah, he's pretty good for a Mexican." I'd be like,
"I've heard that one
really?"
before.
Because let's battle.
I'll wrap bars around you, bro. You know what I'm saying?
Let's do something here.
No, for sure, man. Do you think that being a Chicano rapper ever hindered you in anything you did? Not, like just the fact that you were Mexican or you were a young, Latino trying to rap, did it ever hinder you in any way?
No, to be honest with you, I think that at the time we came out, if I was black, I probably wouldn't have hit because there was just so many people, the black, doing it.
You would have just blended right in, right?
If I was black and I did Lowrider, I don't think it would be the hit that it was. Yeah. I think at the time, because we were Latinos, is why
you distinguished yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
We're good for Latinos.
Hey.
I hated that, but I mean that's what helped us, because the industry was looking for. Let's face it, there's a lot of Latinos in America, so they were looking for artists to
and at the
sell.
time, there was nobody else doing it.
There was nobody doing it, so
you guys were the first.
Ones.
At least the first, 3 or 4 people doing it, right?
That's right.
Yeah, so
I don't condone all the,
the gang banging and
the gang banging or the womanizing or
and
don't get me wrong, you know what I mean?
We've been there and done that.
I'm not square either, you know what I mean? I hear something on the radio and it's good, I like it.
Yeah.
But I don't condone it.
Yeah. Well, we're grown men nowadays, right?
Yeah, right.
You live and you learn.
Right.
And it's good, man, that you're really understanding, man. At this point, it seems like that you're starting to understand. Hey, man, I really had an influence.
Well, I
got to be careful with the influence.
So
and a lot that happened to you.
I had to learn my lesson the hard way in a lot of ways. So,
yeah. Let's talk about Eazy. So Eazy comes on the scene right around the time you said that you guys were doing the West Coast Gambinos. You said?
Yeah, I think it was toward the tail end of that.
Okay.
And we did East Side Rendezvous.
Okay, yeah.
And God, I want to say, was that on Ruthless? Yeah, that was on Ruthless.
That was on Ruthless Relativity, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was on Ruthless. And so then Frost, myself, and Nino Brown came in.
And that might be the song that I think more people know you for, right?
Probably. Yeah, because that one, I think Tequila charted higher than that one.
Okay.
But that song has had more longevity. I mean, they still play it.
I still play it, bro.
Yeah. So I think that one resonated more with the fans than some of the other ones.
Back to Eazy-E. How did he come on the scene? Like,
I've always been a ghostwriter for a lot of people. So I would go in to get paid, and that's how I knew Jerry, and that's how I knew Eazy. Jerry Heller.
Jerry Heller. Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
And I would go to Woodland Hills to the Ruthless office to go get my checks for writing, So I knew Eazy that way, and I think I wrote for HWA too. Remember?
Okay. I slightly remember them.
Yeah, they were like the female NWA.
Yeah, and it was a word that rhymes with bros. It starts with an H.
Rhyme with bros.
Okay.
A garden tool.
Garden tools
attitude? With attitudes.
Yeah, yeah. And I can't say the word, y'all, because this is a faith-based podcast, man. So I got to keep it clean. Keep it clean.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And so I was writing for all of them. So I knew Eazy that way, but I met him, of course, through Tony G. Most of my connections always came through Tony, most of them. And he started coming around the studio and signed Frost.
Okay.
And we had the big East Side Rendezvous hit.
Yeah.
And he knew that I penned a lot of stuff for Frost.
Okay.
And
when you say you penned a lot of stuff for Frost, you mean as in ghostwriting?
Ghostwriting.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's not really a big secret. I mean, like a lot of people know about. Like I did quite a few songs.
You did some ghostwriting for Eazy as well, didn't you?
I did, and nothing. Only thing that ever got recorded that I wrote for him was the intro for for Julio's Ruthless Radio show. Him and Julio G, they did the Ruthless Radio show.
Okay.
And we did an intro rap, and I think Slow Pain rapped on it. Me, Eazy rapped on it. I think Nino Brown rapped on it.
Okay.
And we did this, but I wrote Eazy's part on that. And then I wrote a couple songs for him for his album that he was working on when he passed.
Okay.
And they never got recorded.
Okay.
So, yeah, I was starting to write for Eazy, and Bone Thugs and Harmony had just got signed, and they just released the first EP.
Okay. Did he ask you for any of your input as far as like signing Bone Thugs or signing any of these other artists?
Nah.
No?
Mm-mm.
Did you ever give him any of your input?
Well, I got a funny story.
Okay.
About that. Yeah, actually. Did he ask me for my opinion? No. Yeah. Did he play me the demos of Bone Thugs and Harmony?
Yeah.
Yes. And when he played it to me, I said, "What is that?" And he goes, "What? You don't like that?" I said, "No, man. What is that? Yeah. You can't even understand what they're saying. What is that?"
Yeah.
Mind you, the demos weren't nearly as good as when the EP came out, but I didn't like it. I didn't understand it. And he goes, his famous words, he would always say, "Man, y'all don't want to make no money." He would always say that. "Man,
is that how he sounded?
Y'all don't want to make no money."
Is that his voice right there? Is that how it sounded?
Yeah, that's my Eazy impression. And let me tell you, when he came to the studio with the EP, when the EP was done, and he started playing it, and I was like, "Whoa, what is that? That's dope!" I was completely converted.
Yeah.
But I have to say that if you heard the demo, but he heard it. He heard something in that demo that I sure didn't hear.
Yeah.
But Eazy was a smart man. He's, you know what I mean? And
for sure, man.
He knew good music.
I tell people all the time, man, that anybody with that level of success and that big of a body of work, right?
Yeah.
Has to be an intelligent person.
Oh, he was smart.
Yeah, smart.
He was taking care of me and Slow Pain until the new budgets came out to actually do the paperwork and sign the contract, and he would just give us money. So we went down there with Tony, and he was so sick we wouldn't even leave until Tamika got home.
Yeah.
And when she came home, we left, and he ended up I want to say it was that night, ended up in the hospital.
Wow. And
he never came back out.
Wow.
But he did call me, and he told me, "Al, tell Tony to take the G Fellas album and go get it mastered."
Yeah.
I told him, "Don't worry about it. Just get better, man. Just get out of the hospital, get better." And he goes, "No, but tell Tony get it mastered. I want him to get it mastered." And then that's the last time I talked to Eazy.
Wow, man. All right, everybody, we're taking a quick break to shout out to the sponsors: El Padrecito Productions, Separate Mind Productions, Reach Architect. Thank you for support, and thank you for making this program possible. Let's get back to the business. You told me a story earlier, man. We were here in the studio, and you told me a story. Mm-hmm. I guess you had tried to maybe write some darker lyrics or something along those lines for Eazy. And it kind of gave me a little bit of hope, and I'll explain why here in a minute. Can you tell the people the story? I don't know
if that's what he meant, but if that's what you want to think he meant,
at least that's
great.
How I take it, right? But let's hear the story real quick.
So it was me and Slow Pain, and we're in the studio, and I was writing lyrics for Eazy. I mean, I had done a few songs, that, like I said, this particular song was, I think he had done a beat, and it was a really dark beat. And I, there was some rumors going around that he was kind of maybe doing some
black magic, witchcraft
type music or whatever, or he was into it.
Yeah,
that was a rumor. I didn't ask him. I mean, I was cool with Eazy, but that's not something you just ask somebody.
Yeah, for sure.
And then you hear the Bone Thugs and Harmony album, and that it was after that, and it's on the Ouija, Are You With Me?
Yeah,
and all that. So I was hearing that like, well, maybe that's.
So it sounds convincing,
right?
Yeah.
And back then, I just want to give him what he might want to record. So I wrote him a real dark song. And I would probably borderline, devil music. You know what I mean? Really? Because this is what he told me. He said, Al, you love God? I said, yes. And he goes, you think God would be okay with those lyrics that you wrote me? I said, no. He said, then you don't know about this, so don't. He goes, you want to go in a cemetery and spend the night, and we could write, and we'll spend the night there, and then we could write some stuff.
Yeah.
Otherwise, don't write about this. You don't know about this. Don't write about this.
Yeah.
That's
that's a crazy story, man. And you don't picture Eazy saying something like that, because unfortunately, everything we know and see from Eazy is kind of vulgar, kind of.
I'll tell you, that guy right there, good people. This is the kind of people he was.
This is why stories like that give me hope, man. So I always like to look at things in the perspective of seeing the rays of light of God working in people's lives, even if they don't realize it at that moment, or even if they resist it at that moment. There's rays of light, man, and anything that we do good, I think that comes from God, right?
Yeah.
And those are good things. Those are good deeds.
No, he was good people. He helped a lot of people. He was good people. We didn't have the contract signed yet, and he never let me go without money or slow paying.
Exactly, man. And the thing about asking you about, do you love God? And, talking about your lyrics that you had written, it strikes me as, even though people know me for this, more negative type of stuff, he had enough reverence to be able to be like, maybe. But, at least that's the way I'd like to think.
Maybe, because like I said, he was just a good-hearted person. He was like...
Well, it's kind of like, I talked to you a little bit about this earlier. There was a song on the West Coast Gambino's project where you make a comment and you say something along the lines that you were selling glass, but you still got up from mass, or along those lines. I can't, don't quote me on it, right?
Yeah.
And the way I took that, and again, man, maybe I'm being an optimist. Maybe I'm being an optimist, but I felt like there was something deep down inside of you that told you had to have at least enough reverence to get up and go to church. And I'm gonna give you a perfect example of this, man. Drive through any hood, man, and you're gonna see this graffiti, there's murals, and you might have stuff tagged out, you might have stuff crossed out, but if you see a mural of Jesus, the Blessed Virgin Mary, you see any of these, they're gonna be untouched. They leave it alone, right? And to me, that's kind of a little bit of a ray of light, man.
Yeah.
That's a little bit of reverence, even though it might be misguided. Yeah. Might be, unformed.
Right.
It's still reverence, right? It's still reverence. And that's something I think we should build on, man. We should kind of...
I was going to tell you, with the Kid Frost thing was, he's got some health issues, and he had to have open heart surgery.
Yeah.
And he called me the day before, but it might have been a couple of days before he was scheduled to do a procedure. I don't know if it was open heart surgery. I don't want to lie, but it might have been a stent. But it was something...
It was something serious.
He was worried about it.
Yeah,
He called me, and we were talking. God spoke to me and said, you need to do some Christian rap. You need to do some praise me now, because you did it your way enough. And he said, do it with Frost. Call Frost. Now, mind you, it hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
But I called Frost, and when we're on the phone, I said, God spoke to me and said that you and I are supposed to do some music together, but it's going to be some Christian music. He goes, Al, brother, I'm with you. We're going to do it. And I go, so don't worry.
God, bro.
Don't worry about it. You're going to be fine in this surgery, because he was worried. I said, you're going to be fine, because God isn't going to be talking to me, making plans if you're not going to come out of it tomorrow. We talked about it recently.
Yeah.
And I mentioned it, and I said, by the way, we still got to do that Christian stuff we haven't done yet. And he goes, no, I'm in. We're doing it. So and he'll tell you the same story. That's
well, praise Jesus, man, for that, man, because that's a good story. Obviously Frost is one of my inspirations, I guess you say, right? Yeah. I mean, and I follow what he does, man. I've been following him for years, man. And so I knew a little bit about his health issues. And man,
was an
Frost, if you're
OG.
listening, man, I definitely pray for you on a regular basis, man. And I'm gonna ask, the listeners, man, y'all keep OG Kid Frost, man, in your prayers too, man, because we can all use as many prayers as we can get. But yeah, I definitely pray for Frost, man. Keep him in our prayers. And man, I can't wait to hear that collab, man. That's gonna be something.
Yeah, me too. I can't wait to do it.
Right? I know you kind of grew up in a family that was, that were believers.
Well, my dad.
Your dad, okay.
And my mom kind of went along with it. What happened was, when I was about 8 years old, I think they came knocking on the door to invite us to a new church. It was a Baptist church, actually, Calvary Road. So we started going to church, and then my dad, and none of us went anymore. My dad was a womanizer back and forth with my mom. No church involved. Fast forward up until about 93.
Yeah.
I was doing a show with LA Dream Team up in Fresno. And on the way back, Cream Magazine was doing an interview for us. And so they said, well, the interviewer called me and said, well, I'll tell you what, why don't we do the interview, but I'll ride along with you to this show, and this and that. So he said, I'll drive. You guys just hop in. So we actually drove to Fresno. And on the way back, coming down the Grapevine, he fell asleep.
Oh, wow.
We hit an embankment and rolled 6 times. They had to cut us all out of the car.
Wow.
And that was my that was my come to Jesus moment.
Okay.
So that's when I first. Now I know the seed was planted at 8, but there was no church involved in between.
Okay.
I don't know how long we even went to church. I remember going. My dad was the bus driver for a while.
Okay.
But growing up, 8, 9, 10, teens, no church. I went to Set Free in Anaheim because I had a Christian friend who lived downstairs from me. His name was Hap. He's passed away now. He would always talk to me about God. He was a good friend. I mean, he would talk to me about Jesus and God all the time. And I would talk to him because, like I said, the seed was there.
Yeah, yeah.
But I wasn't ready to make any moves, Yeah,
yeah, for sure. I mean, we've all been there.
Right.
Yeah.
But when I rolled 6 times, they cut me out of that car. Mind you, all I got was like 3 bruised ribs, cuts and bruises, I went to church.
Yeah.
And I got saved. I was like, hey, Hap. I want to go to church. He goes, I got just a church I want to take you to.
Yeah.
And it was Set Free. And they have a lot of, I know people have some opinions about Set Free. And I was actually part of the church when we changed from Set Free to New Wine, and we voted on it and stuff. But so there was a couple things, but that church got a lot of people saved, and still does, because they had lowriders for Jesus.
Yeah.
So you would come to church.
They were meeting people where they were. Right?
There would be about 4 or 5 lowriders in the parking lot.
Yeah.
10 or 12 Harleys with people with cuts and everything on, long hair. They would get big tattoos of Jesus. And so when we did our worship in the morning, they would literally like the band. The music wasn't very good. They didn't have a really good band like the church I go to now. It's big production, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Wasn't like that, but they would do they would take an oldie, they get the instrumental, and they'd flip the words and make it Christian.
Yeah.
And so they had like they called it oldies for Jesus, and they would do there were just a couple of singers that would do oldies. They would do rap songs. So the pastor's son was a rapper, and they would all rap, and they would do Christian rap, and so it wasn't very non-traditional.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
then there'd be biker, and they would do rock songs and you name it. So, but it was like, if you went to that church dressed up in a button-up,
you didn't fit in.
You would. Everyone would love you. But you know what I mean? But you'd probably get more looks than if you go tattooed, bald-headed to a more conservative church.
Yeah, for sure. I got you.
I was pretty dedicated for about a year. Ever since then, I've always known that I want to do some faith-based rap.
Yeah.
But that was my living still.
Yeah.
And I just didn't see myself flipping the switch to Christian music.
How long ago was it that you kind of decided, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and follow through, and I'm gonna record some songs, not necessarily make a full transition to doing
because I'm not doing
Christian
that,
rap, but I'm doing some songs for about my faith, because this is who I am, right? It's part of who I am.
Right. So that's when my daughter died.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That can be a touchy subject, man. And so when
I
your
can talk
daughter
about
passed, man, how long ago was this?
She died on December 17th in 2018. So,
oh wow,
just a little over a year ago.
Yeah, not even 2 years yet.
Not 2 years yet. Yeah.
Wow,
year
man.
and a half.
Yeah, man. And I'm so sorry for your loss, man.
Yeah.
I know I can't imagine the pain.
Yeah.
Right. Of losing it. This is your firstborn, right?
Yes.
Your firstborn.
Yeah, she was 29 when she died. She'd be 30 right now.
Do you mind if I ask how she passed?
We were at a 49er game. Me and my son, her brother, is big 49er fans, and she wanted to come, wanted to go with us. She said she's more of a New Orleans fan, but she said her second favorite team was Seattle, and we were playing Seattle. And I said, well, why don't you hop in with us? Let's go on a road trip.
Yeah.
So she did, and God, I wish she wouldn't have come now.
Yeah.
But and we were up there, and she left the room to go across the street, get something from the convenience store, like some snacks for the room.
Yeah.
It was after the game, and coming back, she got hit by a car.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's a drunk driver. I'll never know for sure.
Hit and run?
Because it was a hit and run.
Did they ever catch the person?
No,
Never caught the person?
did. They tried. The detective put signs. They went on social media. They even pulled the train records because there was a train that went by. Mm-hmm. They did see that she was standing there at this point, and then the next train that came, they saw her had already been hit.
Wow.
But
man, I'm sorry to hear that, man.
Yeah, it was tough. It was the hardest thing ever in my life, that's for sure.
Please, believe me when I say, man, that ever since I found out, and I only found out about this tragedy recently, so ever since I found out, man, I've been, praying for you and your family, and your loved ones, and as a Catholic, man, I definitely also pray for the repose of your daughter's soul. Yeah. That's something we believe in for sure. And that's been a daily thing on my part, man. And please know, man, you can count on my prayers, bro. And the listeners' prayers, man. If you guys are listening, man, let's all keep Nicole. Is her name, right? Nicole. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And our prayers, and keep AOT and his family in prayer.
One thing that I do know is that night, well, actually that week, we had been talking, and that night. Okay. And Nicole told me she had gone back to church.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So,
wow.
And we were even
That's
talking.
Grace, bro. That's great.
Because her mom is also Christian, and she was talking about something that she wanted to get through to her mom, and she was going to the same church as her mom. And she said, I'm actually going to talk to my pastor to speak to my mom about that. So that's how I know that she was actually involved at the end of her life in church. So it made me happy, even though she passed that day. We had the most beautiful day. It was very weird. Not weird. It was surreal. Yeah. That in hindsight, I think about, I kissed her on her cheek that day. Yeah. She told me she loved me about 10, 15 times. Told her brother. It was really, looking back,
grace,
it was,
man. That's grace.
It's comforting.
Yeah.
Knowing that she was,
she had faith. That she believed.
Right.
She was a believer. Mm-hmm. Well, it kind of, again, man, it gives me hope, because I feel like not only did God allow you to kind of, have that insight in her life, so, to help you to cope with this, later on, but he gave you guys one of the best days of your life.
Exactly. I got that.
A lot of people don't get that.
I know a lot of people don't, and I'm very thankful for that. I thank God for it all the time. Yeah. And a lot of people say, well, how did you get through that? Me and my daughter are so close, and I know anybody listening can look down at their child and know how much love there is, and just like look at your child and just imagine losing them. You can't, right? Yeah. You want to scream. I did. I screamed. I threw up when I got the news. You know. Yeah. I laid and held my son that was with me that night. So it was horrible. Yeah. I'm gonna tell you, there were so many people praying for me. My family back on the East Coast are Christians and very heavily involved in church. Yeah. I want to say there was 7 or 8 churches over there praying for me. Yeah. I have a lot of fans. I would say thousands, probably, people praying for me. Yeah. Nicole had so many friends. I mean, at the funeral, there was probably 200 people outside that couldn't get in. Oh, wow. That just stood at back of the doors, Maybe not 200, I might be exaggerating, but probably 50 to 75 people that couldn't even get into the church. Yeah. So I know that it was all of the prayers. Yeah. Because the first probably 6 months, I was very strong. And I'll tell you, people ease up on the prayers for you, you know.
Yeah.
And I know after about 6 months, when people weren't praying as much, it started getting tougher for me, and I was having to deal with stuff inside. You know. But I get on, you know, and I ask for some prayers, and usually I do all right. I'm okay again. But true believer, and that's what got me through it, is everybody's prayers.
I have a son and a daughter, man. My daughter's 19 and my son is 11. Yeah. And, you know, it is my biggest fear to lose one of them, or to lose my wife.
Think about it all the time.
Yeah, and I just can't imagine, man. But you can count on my prayers for sure.
Thank you.
And our listeners here, man. And
I don't know why God needed her, but, you know.
Well, God has his plans.
Yeah.
When our loved ones are received into the kingdom of Jesus, right? Mm-hmm. Can we really be that angry about that?
Right. No, I know.
Right? I mean, for us here on earth, it's hard to cope with. But in reality, if they're in heaven with our Lord, man, there's no better place they could be.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
It's just a matter of time till we kind of reunite.
That's right.
Right. So tell us about the song, though, that night. You played a song for her.
I wrote this song called The Saint.
Yeah.
And I wrote the first verse. And there was some cussing in it, but it was mostly about being sort of like an angel's view, flying over a city and talking about all the, you know, things that happen negative in like a ghetto.
Yeah.
And we were staying in Santa Clara. It was the night before, so it was Saturday night because the football game was on Sunday, and we were coming from Fisherman's Wharf back to the hotel. And my son was sitting shotgun, and she was in the back seat, and she leans up. I go, listen to this. And I played the instrumental track, and I rapped the first verse. And another thing, she never really got into my music all that much like my son did.
Yeah.
But she leaned up, and she goes, I won't say exactly her words, but she goes, Dad, that song is bad.
Yeah.
And then I was like, really? And she goes, it's bad, Dad. You got to record that. And I go, I'm thinking of maybe even just recording like a small EP and putting it out for old time's sakes, you know, because I'm kind of like retired, you know. And she goes, you have to, Dad, that song is bad, you have to record that song. And then she passed the next day. Obviously drunk driving and hit and runs are also like, it ties right into that song of bad things that happen. So on the second verse, I talk about drunk driving, I talk about a hit and run. I say I fly through the sky with a bird's eye view, and when that car struck that girl, it struck me too.
Oh wow!
It's one of the lines on the song.
Deep, man.
Yeah, and the whole you know, the whole song is kind of a bird's eye view of things that are going on in the city. And I took all the curse words out of the first verse. Obviously, didn't write any on the second verse. And I wanted it to have a Christian influence.
Yeah.
You know, in the hook, I say the devil is a lie.
Yeah.
And I mean, actually, you probably could call it a Christian song.
Yeah.
So that was really the first thing I did.
Well, we're going to play that song, man.
Okay.
You want to introduce it?
Yeah. The ALT The Saint, and the song is called The Saint. It's dedicated to my daughter, Nicole Stanton.
Amen.
And I look down, and I can see people standing all around, and I can see from high above the ground like an eagle, and I seen a man beat a girl down. Damn, that woman was his own wife. And then I seen his daughter run to her side. Now he's been beating her for his whole life. Then I seen him kill them both, and Vato took his own life. Man, this world is screwed up. The homie named Flacco's all skinny and sucked up, going through life on a 10-speed, clucked up. Fresh out the pinta, hit the lottery, lucked up. Me, I just keep soaring. Hookers on the corner, man, they keep on whoring. Life is a hurricane, lightning and pouring. But don't sleep, cause you'll get struck if you're snoring. Yeah, I'm high above the body. CGV is laying down some audio, and I can see him playing with the levels, and he's fighting off the demons, and he's beating off the devils. I seen a house full of kids, they're the fosters. With some temporary parents, they're the monsters. Now why does mom and daddy always stomp us, but they don't understand that God is looking down upon us? I'm the saint. I can see you cry. I'm the saint. The devil is a lie. I'm the saint. too. And man, this world is crazy. Now who's gonna raise that little girl's babies? I was at the service, I heard them sing, but I just couldn't fly with my broken wings. So I ended up crashing way back in the pews. I'm a saint, but I'm trying to stay off of the booze. And man, what you gonna choose? Righteousness or your screwed up views? But I do see people surviving, but I also see a whole lot drinking and driving. Come on, you need to wake the F up. Get yourself an Uber, homie, wake the F up. Because you just don't know the pain that a man feels when his daughter dies in the rain. I'm the saint. I can see you cry. I'm the saint. The devil is a lie. I'm the saint. The devil is a lie. I dedicate this to my daughter, Nicole Marie Stanton. She left this world December 17th, 2018. I love you, baby.
That was a Saint by AOT, the Saint.
Hey, that song means more to me than anything I've ever written.
That was really dope, man. I appreciate you sharing that with us, man. I'm gonna jump into some Q&A from our listeners, man.
Okay.
You got a big fan base, man. You got a lot of people that still love you, bro.
Wow, that's
and,
awesome.
You know, they sent me in some questions for you, man. And I'm gonna start off with Pastor Juan, aka Flacco from Amarillo, Texas, man.
Okay.
And he asked here, he says here, had a couple of questions. What made you guys stick to Chicano Rap, especially in today's trend? Also, how important is it to share the gospel through your music? He continues to say, many blessings to everyone still representing the Chicano scene and sharing the gospel of Jesus Christ.
What's up, Flacco? First off, I didn't stick with Chicano Rap because they gave us that label. Mm-hmm. So I never really felt that's what I was doing. So I didn't stick with it. I've always just did me.
Okay.
I'm only recording what I'm led to record.
Okay.
And I shared this with you, and I shared it with a couple of the Christian rappers I've been working with recently.
Uh-huh.
I'm pretty much retired from secular music.
Yeah.
Now, if the right project came along and it was just about cruising and it didn't have anything derogatory in it,
yeah.
I might entertain the idea of doing that.
Yeah.
But so it wouldn't have to be Christian, but it's definitely going to be wholesome.
Yeah, for sure.
You know,
uh-huh.
and I think it's important. You know, the music that I do now, I'm enjoying doing it, and until I don't enjoy doing it, then I'm just going to do Christian rap.
Nice. This next question is coming in from Paola Corio. She's in the Bronx in New York City.
Okay,
right?
cool.
And she asks here, if you could go back in time, what would you change? More so about your personal life than music. And then she has a second part of the question. And she says, also, if you had a second chance to have your daughter back, how would you raise her this time? I guess, you know, would you do anything differently?
It probably ties into the same. I could probably answer that both questions with one answer. And I was sharing earlier, at around 93 or so is when I got in that car accident.
Okay.
If I could change everything, then I probably would have swallowed my pride, not let the music pull me back in, and maybe do the Christian thing then. In hindsight, I would have stuck with my walk with God and you know, maybe did some Christian music from back then.
The next question comes from Rob Reyes. He's in Long Beach, California.
LBC.
Yeah, LBC. And he's asking, did you always know about God, but didn't really get close to the faith? Or would you say God stood in your life all along until now?
Oh, God stood in my life all along.
Yeah.
Yeah, the seed was always there, especially since I got saved.
Yeah.
I mean, I would even feel guilt sometimes, like knowing maybe I shouldn't record this or that. And I'm telling you, I've come up with good lyrics.
Yeah.
That there's certain lines I wouldn't cross. That it sounds really good. Oh wow, that's dope.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I can't say that. That's like,
I
can't say that. Even in my regular street music that I did.
Yeah.
So yeah, God was always there, always playing. I always had that voice, always had that the voice.
Heck yeah, man. So this one's coming from Victor, aka Little Silence, in LaPorte, Indiana.
Okay.
In the direction you are going now, know that you have my full support. Did you ever imagine that your music would take off in the way it did, or that you would get the opportunity to work with artists like Eazy or Kid Frost?
It's a good question. So there were like a few big moments for me.
Yeah.
My biggest moment I remember to this day was when Kid Frost's album came out, and they had wax back then, and I flipped it over and I saw my name on an album.
Wow.
That was a big deal for me in the credits. Second big deal for me was to hear my voice on a radio station.
Yeah.
And that was in Bakersfield and then Power 106 with Lowrider.
Yeah.
And then the third biggest thing was to see a video come out on, like MTV. And then when I got my own solo album, that was a big deal for me too. So those were all milestones for me.
This last question, man. This is coming from Benny Santivanes, aka Purpose, from Wichita, Kansas. And he's asking, as a Latino pioneer in the rap game, what's your vision for where you will be going with your music? Tell us how the Lord impacted and transformed your heart and mind.
It's kind of in God's hands right now, so I don't know.
For sure.
I don't know. Maybe I don't do. Hey, may take me home tonight. Who knows?
Yeah,
so,
hopefully not.
Yeah, I definitely. Hopefully not. But
yeah.
So we don't know. But we don't know. Only God really knows. But I'm enjoying doing it. As long as I enjoy doing it, I'll continue.
Hey, one last little side note, man. We're here today, man, and tomorrow is Mr. AOT's birthday,
That's
man.
right.
Hey, man, so happy birthday to you, man.
Thank you.
Happy birthday to you. And I hope you enjoy your birthday here with your loved ones, man, and I hope you really have a blessed time. Hey, when I'm out in LA, man, you got to have me over for some steaks,
I
bro.
will. I got a big smoker, man. It's awesome.
Hey, that's what's up, man. You're OG. I think Latino rappers in general owe you a debt of gratitude, man. A huge debt of gratitude, because you've kind of paved the way for us, man.
Thank you.
Whether it be Chicano rappers or Latino Christian rappers, or even the Boricuas or whoever, right?
Yeah.
Because you guys were the first ones to do it, man. And we I thank you for that, man. And I thank God, man, for your conversion, man, and the way He's guiding you right now. I hope to see big things from you, man.
Thank
I
you.
really hope to
I
see it.
appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me.
Hey, thank you for being here, man. God bless you and your family.
God bless.
Hey, and thank you to the sponsors, El Padrecito Ministries, Reach Architects, my boy Separate Mind on the production, and Val Morale for dropping that fire verse at the beginning of the podcast. And a big shout out to my homie Chico at Music and Focus Studios. I'm your host, C2six. Thank you for joining us on the Cradle Catholic. We'll see you next time.